Those Were the Days is filmed before a live internet audience.
Welcome to Those Were the Days. Everyone stand for the pledge. Quando omni fluncus moritati. All right, sit down. We'll start with the podcaster's prayer. I'm a podcaster, but I
but
can
I can
change.
change.
If
If
I
I
have
have
to.
to,
I
I
guess.
guess.
All right. Tonight we are talking. We're going back north of the border to talk about one of my all-time favorite shows, The Red Green Show. But here, the Possum Lodge, we need to take roll. I start with Brother Steven.
If the Red Green Show taught me one thing, it's never underestimate what can be done with a roll of duct tape and a dream.
Brother Audie.
So I went to pick up some fireworks, but I stopped and talked to this guy outside the store, and he talked me out of it. He convinced me that rather than some little light pops going off, that I'd want to see chunks of dirt and wood flying in the air with thunderous explosions. So I got some dynamite from him, and now I have all kinds of cool stuff I'm going to blow up. And like he told me, like fireworks, I'm naming them after the stuff they're blowing up. First, I've got the exploding laundry bin with a cracked handle. Next is the exploding I should have just trashed this old tent. Then there's the exploding even Goodwill won't take these clothes. And finally, the exploding I forgot to clean the grill too many times. Now I just gotta find the right music to set my explosions to. And find the remote detonator.
And Brother Travis.
Look, if I have learned anything the past week watching this show, it's that any problem can be fixed using one of these three things: liberal application of duct tape, dispensing of questionable advice with extreme confidence, and explosives. Lots and lots of explosives.
So as I said, we are talking about the Red Green Show, aired from April of 1991 to April of 2006 for 305 episodes, something like that. 305 episodes of this show.
Smokes.
Now, I don't remember if I mentioned it in the actual show last week or if it was in the post show, but I did consider this show for pilots, but the pilot is fine. The pilot is fine. But they obviously with the show like this, it gets its footing, right? It
Mhm.
needs a little time to
Mhm.
rev up. I love this show. This is my dad's show. 100%. My dad looks like Red. I bought him the suspenders for Father's Day one year. I have gotten to his house and he has said, "Come here, let me show you my invention." So this is a show that is very, very near and dear to my heart. Um, and I just thank PBS every day for picking it up because it was a very important part of my younger years. But I want to know what you guys have for a history with Red Green, and let's start this week with Travis.
So I watched Red Green a lot growing up. It played on our local PBS station, WCMU. It was on Saturday nights, and I remember afterwards was the real short thing called Star Walk that I also adored. So it would be Red Green Show and Star Walk, and I utilized a lot of Red Greenisms when I was growing up because I had friends of mine that would watch it too. So we would go back and forth with it. It was just a show that this was comfort for me, just going back just wrapping myself up in the nice warm flannel blanket.
How about you, Audie?
This is my first time ever watching the Red Green Show.
Yay.
So, and it was a delight. I'm going to go ahead and spoiler alert. It was a delight. I dug it.
Awesome. How about you, Steven?
I'm one of those people that heard of Red Green, but had never actually watched it. I think I've seen Travis post his gif a million times. It's Travis's gift, not the internet's gift of Red Green, saying, "I'm pulling for you. We're all in this together." And I had a friend growing up whose dad looked just like Red Green, and everyone always told him, "Your dad looks just like Red Green." And I stood on the sidelines laughing like I knew what they were talking about. But I didn't. I had no clue. And I'm very thankful that you all forced me into watching this because it's funny. Last week, I know I looked real excited when it was announced. It was because of just being in the neighboring vicinity of Red Green conversations that I knew I was in for a treat. I didn't know what I was gonna get, but I knew I was in for a treat. So yeah, thank you for putting this on the list.
Awesome. I'm so excited. Um, I picked this episode. So we watched season 6,
9.
9.
9, episode
Yeah.
6.
Close. Episode 6?
Coup de
7?
Grass.
Oh, okay.
7.
7?
7.
I don't
Yep.
know.
Yeah.
That's
We
what's
watched Coup de
listed.
Grass is the name of the episode.
We got it then. We're all on the same
Yeah.
page.
Yeah, we're all there.
I'm
Season
glad
9,
we found
episode
out
7.
live. That's what's
I'm bad
important.
at numbers. It's all fine. I put it right in the notes. I just
Yeah.
you know.
That works.
Look, the way stuff is posted, sometimes you can't even trust the numbers. Like
That's true.
Yeah, no.
having the title helps a lot. No.
Yeah.
So much. It's also apparently available on YouTube. They have their own YouTube channel where the entire show is available,
Nice.
which is great. Love that. So the main character is Red Green, who is the president of the Possum Lodge, out in the fictional town of Possum Lake, Ontario, which is near the also fictional town of Port Asbestos, which is just very
Mhm.
good. And so it all takes place in the Possum Lodge, and it always ends with the call to meeting, which I'm pretty sure that's not the sound a possum makes, but
No.
I don't know enough to really be confident about that.
I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I don't.
And it's sort of it's a show that's sort of a mix of like your think like home improvement sitcom, but also kind of a sketch show. And it is very much that like public access television feel.
Yep.
Because we get a lot of segments, and we didn't get a lot of Harold in this episode, which is kind of a bummer because I do love Harold, but we got a lot of segments, and I feel like that's good. So this
Yeah.
this episode really lets you know what you're in for if you have never seen it before, with the cold open of Red explaining how to tint your windshields.
Oh my gosh.
And the problem with tinting your windshield is that you do it yourself and it gets all wrinkly and bubbly, and that's terrible. And and then at night it's too hard to see. And so he's taken a whole bunch of flip up sunglasses and attached them all together to the windshield of the van. And then you can just flip them up. All the visibility you need. That's the cold open. And it's just the best beginning to let you know what you're about to watch. I feel like.
That
For
was
sure.
wonderful. I think that was a Ford F-250 that he fashioned those
It
sunglasses
very well
to,
may have been.
because I wanted it. I was like, I would like that truck, please. Thank you, Mr. Green.
Well,
great.
and it was an ongoing kind of gag that he had a whole bunch of vehicles, but most of them didn't run except for the possum van, which was like
Yes.
an old Chevy van that was painted up to
It
look
has
like
a possum on the side. Oh, it's
Oh,
very good.
That's great.
Yeah.
But he has a bunch of other vehicles, one of them being that truck that just doesn't run. It just sits there.
Yeah, but it fixes all the time. Just
Oh yeah.
I gotta say, the funniest part about this cold open is for half a second I was like, I kind of want that.
it's really good,
As
right?
somebody who drives into the sun every morning now, especially since the time change, I was just like, I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
That might work.
So then we get inside the lodge, and Red comes in with his bucket of grass and his bag of grass seed. And wouldn't you know, something miraculous has happened. Now, he knocked over a shelf in the shed a little while back. All the chemicals and paint and things fell on some grass seed down on the dirt floor. And when 6 months later, it's this grass. It only grows about 2 inches tall. Tops. And this is going to revolutionize everything. It's so good because there's like always a hijinks, right? like always. Um, and in this one, we're gonna replant all the grass at the lodge
Mm-hmm.
because we'll never have to mow, but we're gonna sell the mowers.
Right.
Um, and uh, so we're gonna tell everybody about this great seed, but not until after we sell the mowers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Got to get rid of the
Um,
mowers first.
Yeah.
Good plan.
Sorry, my
Especially that one with
IMDb.
a wrench for a lawnmower blade. We
The
want to
wrench
get
for
rid of that one.
that.
Oh, that was good.
Listen, these are not gonna sell for much. I've never seen a big
Hmm.
wrench for a lawnmower blade, which is a thing. Like that. This is what I'm saying, and this is a my dad show. Like, if what you've got is a wrench, you could make it into a lawnmower blade if you had to.
I mean,
It would be
angle
fine.
grinder in a little bit of time.
I was gonna
Any
say.
metal
Yeah.
object is a lawnmower blade.
Possible.
Exactly.
Extremely possible.
Yeah, I
Not
identified
great.
in many ways
Right.
with this show. In
Okay,
the
good. I kind of
redneck engineering happening on
Yeah.
this thing.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yep. And we got to
Um,
meet Dalton Humphrey, which is
yes.
one of Ed's best friends, who runs like the general store in Possum Lodge,
Yeah.
and he's just incredibly cheap and tries to make as much money as possible.
So then we cut to a very important segment with Edgar KB Montrose teaching us about fireworks.
Mhm.
Or rather, fireworks are lame. Let's blow
Right,
up
of course.
furniture.
Yeah, you
So
can
the best
actually
part
see
is so
things
he
happen.
cannot hear because he's very much like oh no, I forget his name. What's the Muppet that always does the explosives?
Oh,
Oh,
shoot.
Okay, good. I'm glad that no one had it.
nah, none of us can remember his name.
Oh, good. I can see him. I could
Yep.
draw
Yeah,
him.
yeah,
Again.
I could put a
Crazy
police
Harry.
sketch.
It's Crazy
Yeah, it's
Harry.
Crazy Harry.
Yes.
That's
It's
right.
That's
Crazy
Yep.
Harry.
That's the one.
Crazy Harry's got dynamite. Like he's got that. He's slightly less crazy, but still very similar. So we're gonna
Mhm.
blow up furniture, and so like fireworks are named by what they look like and what they are. We're gonna name these like we do. So that's um exploding dresser and
Mhm.
exploding computer desk and exploding wardrobe. And then it's like it scrolls over, it like pans over to a bed. Like it's just a bed. He's like,
Mhm.
I haven't named that one yet.
But it's my favorite.
It's so good.
But-
Yeah, but it's my favorite.
By the way, Edgar KB Montrose, played by Graham Greene,
Yes.
Yeah.
who I recognized right away and is great. And
Absolutely.
it wasn't in this episode, but there is an episode of the
Mhm.
show where they watch Dances with Wolves, and
Yes.
Edgar
Ooh.
says, "Hey, that native fellow there should have won an Oscar for this."
Oh,
Which was
It's him. It's real
Nice.
good.
That's
so good.
amazing.
That's great.
So we cut back to the lodge, and good news. Animal control's coming in because we've got it's a wild animal day.
Mhm.
And we get Ed Frid is coming in to teach us about animals.
I love Ed.
So Ed
Apparently.
comes in real upset with a falcon. And Red is very excited. Oh, he's got the falcon. This is great.
Mhm.
And so now I don't know about you guys, but I did immediately catch on that the glove was on the other hand.
Yes.
I noticed that.
I was like,
That's not how you do
"Hmm,
that.
no. And that was not his intention.
Mm-mm.
He's very afraid of this bird. Which it just
And-
makes me think of like the old Tonight shows
Yeah,
when like Jack Hanna would
Yes.
bring animals on and stuff.
Yes.
It's
that's
like,
that's what I loved. The Ed Frid character was afraid of all the animals,
Yeah.
and this was a recurring segment. He would bring in different animals, and he was always afraid of them.
yeah.
And so I loved that. But I love him like the writing in this and the comedic timing of everything was great. Shouldn't you have one of those goes? Oh, like this? Yeah,
Yeah.
probably a
Yeah.
good idea.
Yeah.
I
it's
love
great.
the
recommend
line when he just says, "We're looking at a very violent bird here."
Bird. Yeah.
Like,
Well, isn't he kind of tame? Well, it was, but he's getting older, and now it's a very violent bird.
It's not bleeding a whole lot there. Well, I suspect that once the talons come out of my skin, some bandages
Yeah.
It's so
probably going to
good.
be a good idea.
It's one of my favorite things, right? Is the animal expert that just like cannot stand the
Yep.
animals in any way. Um, so good. So it turns out though that the bird is in fact no longer with us. And it's just attached. And it's so good how we found it out because he goes to check his watch and the bird
Right.
is just clinging to his arm upside down. And Red's like, that does not look good. It's not great. Yeah, at one point Red says, well, I don't know, he looks pretty calm to me. And he just goes, that's what he wants you to think. So after the wild animal segment, we get to what I feel is the best part of this particular episode and winds up being the best part of a lot of the episodes. This is our handyman corner.
Oh man.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So now, a big screen TV and a surround system will set you back about $10,000. Chances are, if you've got that kind of money, you're not watching this show. Oh, good. But don't even worry about it. You can make your own with a 9-inch black and white TV
hmm
and a recliner. The beginning, I love, right? And the like, well, you have to figure out where you want to put it. And he just pops the like footstool up on the recliner and he's like, I think I see it. So, all right, so we've got a TV and we've mounted it on the footrest of the recliner. And how are you gonna make this little 9-inch TV look big? Well, binoculars, obviously.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Which are perfectly mounted on a broomstick. So you don't want to hold that. That's ridiculous.
No, yeah, that's crazy.
Just mount it, stay in focus. This is great.
I love how he says you want to make it look big the same way you make horses at the horse track look big. Or that neighbor in the bikini.
So good.
Like, all right.
And then well, we've got these 3D glasses, and this is gonna be award winning right here. This right here is gonna be award
That's what
winning. We're
gets
gonna
him the
put
Emmy.
yeah, gonna duct tape some of these 3D glasses to the ends of the binoculars there. And now you're getting two visual effects in one. All right, so we've got that established. No problem. Time for surround sound. I snort laughed so hard. Guys, I absolutely lost it at surround sound. Because in surround sound, you have speakers all over the place and there's no room for you. So with his method, you can make the sound surround you by mounting a speaker on a ceiling fan.
Yes.
Perfectly
Perfect.
reasonable.
It's sound to me. Like it sounds like a good
Right.
idea. I get it. I'm in.
Yeah. And then you can make it go at whatever speed you want. And then of course he does also attach a satellite dish because
Right.
obviously it is a colander, but that's fine. So he gets in his little setup and he's ready to go, and then he's got an oar so that he can reorient his chair
Mhm.
To
and
point at the
thereby
right
the
satellite.
satellite dish. I don't know if any of you had to do the rabbit ears and the foil
yeah.
and the
Oh,
like
yeah.
nobody move. We're there. And
The
the
funniest
youngest
thing
one has
about
to
this
hold it.
segment is that a lot of times we're watching shows that are quite dated in what they're talking about. And somehow TV technology has advanced and yet hasn't advanced
Yes.
enough
Yeah.
that everything he's talking about is something we absolutely can still understand.
Oh yeah.
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 It's amazing.
Like
And
even with the 3D
know-
glasses, are like you could make an argument for 3D TV.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like the handyman's corner, I think was probably the genesis of this show.
I agree.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I think it
Mhm.
was Steve Smith who plays Red Green. I think that was part of his stand up that he was doing, and like the way the character got brought about was for the handyman's corner. And of course, he's always got the handyman's secret weapon, which is duct tape.
Damn.
Everything
Mhm.
duct taped together. There
Dang
was a handyman's corner. It's always almost always the highlight of an episode is handyman's
Yeah.
corner. There was one where there was a gas shortage, so he needed to get a bigger gas tank for the possum van.
Mhm.
And so what he ended up doing was figuring out that he could put a different car on top of the possum van to drive it and use the possum van as the gas tank. And he just duct taped them together so he could drive it around. Like it's stuff like that. It was that kind of ingenuity every single time. It was so good.
Yeah.
I love Handyman's Corner.
It's so good. It's there's a line from an old Top Gear episode that I have. It's been my email handle for like well over like my email signature for well over a decade. I forget it's there. And it's that's an ingenious solution to a problem that should never have existed. And I like it's a lot like that.
That's awesome.
Okay. So
And
now we go
and
to
the Handyman's Corner
oh yeah,
always
ends.
ends with, well,
If
the
women don't
find
find
you
you
handsome,
handsome, they should at
they
least
should
find you
just be
handy.
handy.
Which is
The
true.
number of responses we got on social media
Yes,
posts
that were just that.
that were just that.
hmm It was a lot, and we appreciate it.
Yes.
All right, so now we get a little advice. And I hope that it was, very helpful for you guys because it's for some of the older fellas, like a little bit older fellas, who get in trouble when they try to help. Um, and the gist of it is that when you're saying, "Here, give me that," you're not telling your loved ones that they can't do uh what needs to be done. It's that you've already messed up so many times that you don't need them to experience their own failures. um these are always real good too. I like because he's usually sitting at his little fly tying table, just
Mhm.
we're just gonna have a little chat, guys.
It's like
Um,
it's like a weird redneck version of Andy Rooney's desk in
yeah.
60 Minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, it
That's
is.
because it's got the lighting is the same, and he's sitting down at a spot, and he's talking to the
Mhm.
camera. I'm
Oh
like,
my
I see
gosh.
where they got this from, but much more relevant and useful than
Yeah.
Right.
Andy
Yeah.
Rooney.
Um and it ends with we're all in this together. I'm
hmm
pulling for
hmm
you. We're all in this together, which is really sweet, quite
That's really
frankly.
great. Yeah, this is
Mhm.
like a weird Mister Rogers for grown-ups. You
Mhm.
know,
Kind of, yeah.
almost the
Yeah.
same flavor, just a little bit of extra tang in there.
Yeah,
Mister
it's
Rogers
this
is
really
vanilla, and this is lime sherbet.
this it's this really it's this really funny send up of like man things
Mm-hmm.
also,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
if like the man show is the epitome of toxic masculinity, which it, is pretty much was. This is
Mhm.
like not that
yeah.
even this is just
Yeah.
guys being guys and doing their very best
Yeah.
Mhm.
and
In the least offensive way. Just
yeah.
they're not
Right.
hurting anybody. They're just
No.
this is just them. Do you just doing what they do?
All right. So now we check back in on the lawn.
Mhm.
So they reseeded the whole lawn. The lawn is now a foot tall
Yep.
and wet and sticky
Mhm.
to the point where they are sticking to the ground. And it smells like paint or kerosene or nuclear waste. Which I don't know that that's a smell so much as like a
You
feeling,
just a little
but I don't
tingle,
know.
tingle in the
Yeah.
thyroid gland.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if anybody wants to see the height of commit to the bit, watch this segment and the rest of the show and how these men walk in and out of that
Mhm.
place.
It's so good.
Yep.
So
They're
good.
perfect.
Um So we get I don't remember the sewage worker's name.
That is Winston
Okay,
Rothschild
that is
III.
Winston. Okay, which is great. Like that's his name
Uh-huh.
as a waste
Yeah,
management, a
Winston
wastewater.
Rothschild III, who runs Rothschild's sewage sucking service.
Yeah. So we learn that there's a drought. And so it's really quite a miracle that this grass is growing so high.
Mm-hmm.
Because everywhere else is just brown. But it's amazing that it's growing so high. The good news is, uh, that Dalton has sold the lawnmowers to some idiot from the city
Mm-hmm.
for $100. They're like,
Yeah.
whoa, that's great. Bird's like, no, 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 no. You got his number. You got to call him. We got to call off the deal. We need the mowers back.
Because the
He
grass
calls
won't
him.
stop growing.
This is so good. He calls him. He's like, well, he says he'll give him back, but he wants the $100 back. It's like, "Yeah, that's fine, whatever. And he wants an extra $50. Fine, fine, whatever.
But
Yeah,
we'll
but
be out $50.
we'll be out $50. Not if he takes a check.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And
See,
they all
kids,
laugh.
checks
They
were
all
a
get the
thing.
joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was like a promise that this was going to give you money
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
at some point. But sometimes that didn't happen.
No.
Yeah,
Yep.
you didn't get money. You had a piece of paper with someone's name on it.
Uh-huh. So now we're going to visit Ranger Gord.
This was my
Rain-
personal favorite segment.
Oh,
It's
I loved
really, really good. Ranger Court. I don't know if the Ranger Station is always an interesting time. I don't know that it was always Ranger Gord, but because there was
It
a
was-
Ranger segment that was very different in the pilot.
It was Ranger Gord for most of the series. He was
Okay.
on it from like 91 to 04.
Okay. So it
And-
was him, but his character did develop quite a bit in the interim.
Yeah. Ranger Gord, by the way, whose name in the series is Gord Ranger.
Yeah.
So he likes to be called Ranger.
He's a piece of work. So Red
Yeah,
goes
he-
out there to the fire tower to visit him. And he's like, "Oh, did you get my message? You know, I worked on my new animation and it's ready. Did you get my message?" And he's like, "Obviously not, because I'm here." He's like, "Oh, would you like to use the restroom before we start? I'd like to use the exit."
Right.
It's so good and so snappy.
Offer some
Wonderful.
popcorn. Oh, I
Offer some
prefer it when
popcorn.
it's popped.
Yeah. All right, this animation, guys.
This animation,
Animation.
this animation looked like the animations you would find in like a storybook CD-ROM game
Yeah.
from the 90s.
Yes.
Like I just
Mhm.
imagine playing some adventure game involving the sun and a lightning gun, and then this is the animation that plays when you solve the puzzle. It was just MS
Yeah.
Paint level artistry, and I was
Yep.
all about it.
It was great.
It
So
was
Ranger
so good.
Gord is like a superhero. He's just like the
Mhm.
biggest, strongest, handsomest. And then Red and Harold are possums.
Yeah.
A possum and a beaver.
A
Yes.
possum and a beaver. Yeah.
Because they have to poke fun at Harold's overbite.
Right.
Because we only got Harold
We got a
one
little
segment we
Harold,
haven't got
yeah.
to yet. But
Yeah. I do. That is the only regret I have on this episode is not more Harold because Harold is phenomenal. So it's supposed to be a video teaching you about sun safety.
Yeah.
Like wearing sunscreen and not staying
Mhm.
out in the sun too long.
Wrong.
And Ranger Gord is like, that's ridiculous. The sun shoots harmful rays at the earth, and so we're gonna take it out. Here's a gun.
We're gonna shoot rays back at it.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. Well, wouldn't you know, Red gets immediately zapped by the sun's harmful rays, death rays. And Harold tries to shoot it right and misses, or it doesn't do it. I can't remember
The sun
exactly. And
dodges
then,
multiple
sun
fires.
Yeah,
dodges
yeah,
it.
and Harold gets toasted. And so, of course, uh, Ranger Gord flies up to the sun, puts it in a chokehold,
Mm-hmm.
and makes it promise not to shoot harmful rays at the Earth anymore,
Yep.
which it does make this promise, obviously. And it
course.
ends with him being like, all right, well, you don't have to wear sunscreen anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'd also like to point out how obnoxiously large Ranger Gord is in this animation, or how he
Enormous.
views himself. It's like the
Yep.
tiniest waist and the massivest upper body
He
Mm-hmm.
you've
makes
ever
he
seen.
makes Gaston from Beauty and the
Yes,
Beast look reasonable.
Yeah.
yes, it's
Mhm.
Gaston,
Right.
but worse.
Oh,
It's like
good.
Popeye, but all of his body is proportional like that
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
instead of just his forearms.
Yeah.
I just
Which
love
and
this
like Ranger
idea. Oh, I'm sorry, Travis. Go
yeah.
ahead.
No, Ranger Gord was another just great character, right? Because he was always like for the longest time he was in his fire tower and he stopped getting paid, but he didn't care. Like he kept doing it. And at one point, I think Red even tells him like, I think he thinks that he doesn't get talked to by his superiors because he's doing such a good job they don't need to. And Red's like, nah, I think they just forgot about you out here
Mhm.
because he became a ranger because he was convinced that Smokey Bear was speaking directly to him
That's right.
about only you can prevent forest fires, and he thought he meant literally only Gord could prevent forest fires, and he had to become a ranger because of it.
In the pilot episode,
Wow.
he's like up in the tower, like Red goes to visit. He's up in the tower and he's like upset and alone and afraid. And he's like begging Red not to leave. And Red's like, you'll be fine. Don't worry about
Mhm.
it.
There was a good bit of that. They changed because the original, I think the pilot episode in like the first couple of seasons, the tower was a treehouse on Steve Smith's property
So
they
good.
used, and they eventually got to a set. But part of the reason they wrote that out is the original tower, Gord ran out of cream corn and got hungry, so he ate the legs off the tower and it fell over. So he had to move to a new tower.
Wow.
Because that's the reasonable
ridiculous.
excuse.
Yeah,
I just
exactly.
the gorilla style of everything on this show. Like we could make this show if we tried hard enough.
We
You
could.
know,
Yeah,
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
it's
absolutely.
it's totally if chase your dreams, kids. Like if Greg Green can make it, so can you. Just write whip
Mhm.
smart stuff. It's can't be that hard, right?
Sure.
Right.
Everybody would do it.
All right. So now we have Mike's teen time.
Mhm.
Teen
Yes.
talk.
Oh,
Mike's
Mike
teen
Hamar.
talk. All right. So Mike's done some time. Mike is great. I love Mike. So today we're having career day. So we needed somebody with a career, which it turns out it's Harold. Hey. I,
Harold, who is Harold is Red's nephew,
nephew.
by the way. If you don't,
Yeah.
if you haven't seen the show before, he is Red's nephew, and usually is, or for the first several seasons, he was like the producer of the show,
Yeah.
and so that was what he would dress just like Red, and he was always around. He was a real nerdy guy.
He had
Harold,
he had like the video switcher, which was like
oh
it
yeah,
almost looked like a keytar. It was this big giant thing that he would like have on him, like wear on him on a strap to change to the
Mhm.
different segments and stuff.
yeah.
It was pretty
Nice.
good. So we're talking about, well, what is a career? And it's like a job that you go to every day and you do all this work and you got he does a lot of work with files, and then he's got
Mhm.
like a really small file cabinet called an attaché that you can bring home with you. And then he's got this fancy telephone so his boss can call him anytime he needs anything. And Mike's like, "Do they give you 3 square?"
I love Mike because everything for him is just equating back to his time in prison.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
everything, and I love that he's like, so a job is like getting 1 to 2, but a career is like
Here's
20 to
life.
life.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's like, I used to think a job was bad, but a career is even worse. All right.
So you do
Also,
all this
Wayne
work.
Robson. Yeah, Wayne Robson, who plays Mike. I love him. He's such a fun character actor because he just
He's
has a
really
very
good.
unique look to him.
Yes, he does.
And again, dated, not dated television.
Yeah.
Yep.
You do all
Yeah.
this work and then you take it home and your boss can tell you what to do even at home. It's like, yeah, that's a career. It's like, boy, things have not changed at all.
I know,
Huh?
it's
No,
really
No.
painful.
the same thing.
Yeah. Absolutely wild. All right. So things have come to head with the grass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have.
Red comes in and he's like covered in green something.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see like you can see the grass outside the window, first of all. And it's like coming in the door. And he's like, well, grass is 5 feet high. Mowers won't cut it. Fumes make you lightheaded. And it turns everything green. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like everything's working out.
Mm.
So Winston comes in and Winston and Dalton both make their way back into the lodge.
Mm-hmm.
And we're in trouble because it's getting dark out there. It's gonna rain. This is a problem. Like if it's growing this well without water, what's it gonna do now?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, well, we'll just test it on your little pot of grass over here. You pour some water on it, and it just dissolves and smokes a lot, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, all right. So it just doesn't like water. And then the thunderstorm starts and it starts to rain, and you can see through the window, which I was like, that's real. Like, come on. That's real good.
Yeah.
So you can see through the window, everything's sinking. And Winston's like, well, look at all that toxic runoff going in the lake. What are we going to do about that? They're just like, yeah.
Eh.
Probably not the worst thing that's ever happened to that lake.
No.
Probably not.
Really. Problem solved. And so we get the Possum Lodge call to meeting. There we go. We go have our meeting, and that's the end of the episode. Because that's how all the meetings end. They end with it's not that's the sound a possum makes.
I think
It's like a
possums just
pig.
hiss at things.
They
Like, that's-
largely hiss.
Yeah, they just hiss at you.
Yeah.
It was still nice. Again, committing to the bit, everybody walking in covered in green.
Covered in
Yep.
green. Yeah.
Yes, they did a great job. I was a little bit bummed. This was during a run of the show where Rick Green, who played Bill Smith, wasn't on episodes, and almost every single episode of the Red Green Show would have the Adventures with Bill,
Yes.
which was a segment that would be. It looked like black and white home movies.
Yeah.
And everything would be silent except for a couple of sound effects and Red narrating what's going on.
Oh,
And it would be
all
Red
right,
with
so what
his
you doing
with
there,
his
Bill?
best friend Bill. Yeah.
Bill, the pilot has one about getting the canoe out of the lake.
Yep. Because
And
it's pure slapstick.
It's
It
yeah.
is
Oh, that's
absolutely
great. Like
like
Buster
100%.
Keaton level
Yes.
nonsense.
Buster Keaton, Three
Right.
Stooges level stuff. And it's always Bill trying to do some sort of outdoorsy thing, handyman thing, or like
Yep.
testing out a sport. Like there's one where he tries to box. And so like he can't even get the boxing gloves on without knocking himself out. And he has to take his glasses off at one point, then he can't see. And also like they're hilarious. The
They are
Adventures
really
with Bill
good.
were real good.
Really good. So yeah. So I guess that's Red Green.
Mhm.
Trav, I already know that you really liked it. I already know.
I
I
love
know
it
that you've
so
watched more
much.
already. I know. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna talk to the other two.
Fair.
Audie, you gave us like the spoiler. But what did you think of Red
Yeah.
Green?
This was great. Really dug it. It's funny, the two shows that it reminded me a lot of was kind of Hee Haw
Yeah.
without the, Southern racism and misogyny as much.
Sure.
Also reminded me a lot of Hey Vern, It's Ernest.
Oh
and that
yeah,
kind of
man.
Yeah.
sketch comedy stuff. But whereas Ernest, it was all about Ernest's stupidity. This was more about, hey, this is dumb, but might actually work. And I love that.
How about you, Steven?
This is just life goals. Like all I saw
Yeah.
watching this show was my future and what I want it to be. I've often had the dream of just finding myself a rocking chair somewhere with a good friend or a rotating cast of good friends who will come sit next to me while we just solve the world's problems with a roll of duct tape and some just banter, some witty banter. And that's what I want to do. I want this little place next to a lake with junk in the yard. Kind of like I want to be Red Sanford and Red Green, just combined. Red
Yeah.
Sanford, Fred
Yeah.
Sanford, Red Fox, Fred. You get where I'm going.
Yeah.
I want
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Mhm.
I want
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
world. That's
yeah.
where I want that's what I want my mental space to look like someday
Mhm.
when I grow up. Man, I love this show. I loved it a lot. I
Good.
could see sitting and watching it with my son. If I could ever just wrench
Yeah,
his
yeah.
eyes off of whatever nonsense the kids are watching these
Mhm.
days and put it over here on quality television. Yeah, it was wonderful. Would A plus plus. We'll
Yay.
watch again.
And
That makes me happy.
what I love about the Red Green show is it is all ages, family friendly type stuff. There's nothing without it feeling sanitized. Like
Yeah.
it's got that little bit of an edge to it, but nothing that you wouldn't sit down and watch with your mom type of thing,
Yeah.
or I wouldn't watch with my
Mhm.
mom, which that's a
That's a
bar you got
big
to
gulp.
clear.
Yeah.
And so that was part of it, is like the memories, because it was a thing that my parents would watch with us and we all enjoyed it. We all laughed at it. Just because it was so silly, but it was so much fun. And yeah, it was great to go back and watch this. And they're all on Amazon Prime
Yeah. And
And
YouTube.
YouTube.
and YouTube, so you can just watch them. And
They're
it's the
very
kind of thing,
available.
yeah, it's the kind of thing you can just throw on and watch, because it's little bits and segments. You can kind of skip over things if you need to, if you're, doing it while you're doing house, stuff around the house or work or whatever.
Yeah, you can usually listen in on whatever like the main thread of the episode is, and
Mhm.
then because the stuff with Bill, you do need to watch Bill
Right.
because it's real
It's
good.
Well,
very physical
that's a
comedy.
testament to the writing. That's a really good test of
Yeah.
does this
Mhm.
writing work? Is if you could just hear it and be
Yeah.
entertained even
Yeah.
without seeing what's going on. Like, does it work as radio theater? Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it kind of does.
Yeah.
Like, you could just
And
podcast this whole show and I would be into it still.
and for a show like this, like we're watching season 9 and
Yeah.
being
Season
so well
9.
entertained. Like that's how good the writing is to go
Yeah.
this long and have this many seasons and episodes. Like that's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
Oh,
I'm so glad.
loved it.
Yay. I've been like, I'm
Mhm.
not gonna lie, like since we started doing this show, I've been like waiting for an opportunity to spring this on you.
That's awesome.
For real.
I feel like
So
everyone's
I've,
got that show in their back pocket
I
that we're
have
all
like a
just waiting
few.
for
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got like a few, and I was like pretty happy that we finally
Due
got
South
this
was
one.
one for me, so I know the feeling.
Oh, that's
Excellent.
great.
Thanks, Canada.
Yeah.
For
We
real.
Yeah.
What a
appreciate
gift.
you.
Oh, Canada.
All right. So we have one more non-US show week to go.
Mhm.
And that goes over to TVsTravis.
It does, and we are going to go back across the pond to jolly old England,
Oh boy.
because we are going to watch. Now, anyone that knows me, at some point, I have probably mentioned to you that I am a big fan of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes,
Oh.
and
Mm.
of the iterations of Sherlock Holmes, because there are many.
There are many.
One for me stands above all the other ones, and that is Sherlock Holmes that began in the mid 80s. I believe it was 1984. We'll get into it a little bit more next week, but starring Jeremy Brett. And he did it for a long time, and he is easily my favorite incarnation of the great detective. So we're going to be watching an episode of The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, I believe it's season 2, episode 2, but the episode we're watching is The Greek Interpreter.
Ooh.
And it is available to stream on BritBox. So you will have to watch it through there, but I'm sure there are probably other means you can find it. But I can't wait to talk about this because I came upon this. I want to say it was also on PBS, maybe.
I believe so.
Playing at some
I think
point.
so.
And I fell in love with it, and I became obsessed. I'd already been obsessed with Sherlock Holmes, and I'm going to talk about that more next week too.
Yeah, I have a lot
But,
to say about Sherlock.
Yeah, same.
but this is when I think of Sherlock Holmes, when I read Sherlock Holmes, this is the version that is in my head, the voice that I hear, all of it. So can't wait to show you guys this. So The Greek Interpreter will be our episode for next week.
It's fantastic.
So we are gonna need to put together a survey for our next topic, which we did. We
Mhm.
talked about doing it, definitely did not. So check on our socials and or in the Discord for that.
Mhm.
Twodorks.net
Twodorks.net/Discord.
Discord. I
There you
got
go.
it. I was there.
You were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna get a
you'll
poll
find it.
up, and you'll be able to vote
Yeah.
on what our next topic
What our next
will
topic
be.
is going to be.
Mhm.
I have a quick
Um,
unexpected update for
Oh
everyone.
snap!
So we watched Encounter at Farpoint, Star Trek, a
Yes.
couple like last
Yes.
theme.
Mhm.
I have been watching TNG like every night
Yes.
That makes me
and
so
loving the
Mhm.
bejesus out of it. So thank you all for getting me to watch it because it has brought me a comfort. Like I honestly feel like I'm that 8-year-old back in my bedroom watching a show before I go to sleep. TNG is amazing, and I'm having.
I
a
need to know,
wonderful
like,
time.
where are you at now?
I'm only at
Mhm.
like episode 7 or 8. I think there was a
Okay,
lizard and a
alright.
tiger that fought each other on a ship, and a lot of nudity on a planet. It's great.
Yeah.
That show
yeah,
is way
okay. Mhm,
thirstier than I ever expected it to be.
Oh yeah. Oh, it
Mhm.
gets. There's some real good.
It's-
There's some real
Mhm.
good.
I was like, what are these people wearing? What is happening? It was great.
As
Yeah.
little as they possibly could.
Is that
yeah.
Ryza?
Yeah.
I
Is it
don't remember what
Ryza?
the planet name
It
was.
might be Ryza.
But yeah, it
I
was
love Ryza.
it was something else. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
I'm enjoying it a lot. Thank you all for thank you to Those Were the Days for making me finally get on
Excellent.
board. It's great.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
Yeah.
So you can find us on that platform that used to be called Twitter, at Those Days Show. And you
Mhm.
can email us at thosewerethedayshow@gmail.com. So for Stephen, for Audie, for Travis, and for myself, this has been Those Were the Days. If my wife's watching, I'll be home after the meeting. Maybe we'll watch a little Dick Van Dyke. See you next week.
Great end.